What up, beautiful African family? This is your main man, Theo E.J. Wilson, and today we're going to be talking about the looming cutoff of the SNAP benefits. Now, by the time you see this, the results of whatever this is could already have taken place, so I'm making this before the SNAP is supposed to get cut off. Here's what's interesting about this. When I was growing up, there was a myth of the black welfare queen, this fat black mother living in the ghetto, the projects, raising 17 kids off the government dime and not contributing to society, leeching off the working folk. But as it turns out, the major beneficiaries of this government system called SNAP, these food stamps program, are in fact poor white folks, right? And see, here's the thing. There's nothing inherently wrong with needing food assistance. In fact, other countries wire their whole welfare state in a totally different way. It is there to bounce you back into the workplace, not create dependency. And we understand that there's been flaws with it, right? In terms of like how welfare was given back in the day to make sure that the man was kept out of the home. You could have designed it to keep a man in the home, all of that stuff. Welfare deserves a review, right? But what's interesting about this looming cutoff of SNAP is that the government shutdown is being used as an excuse for the USDA to cut it off. And now states are suing because if you recall, there's been government shutdowns before. SNAP always kept going. So what gives this time? So CNBC reports a group of more than 24 states sued the Trump administration on Tuesday, seeking to maintain funding of so-called SNAP benefits during the ongoing federal government shutdown. The suit was filed 4 days after the Trump administration said that it would not use $6 billion in congressionally approved emergency funding to maintain benefits during the shutdown from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which provides food stamps for more than 40 million Americans. So they're putting this squarely on Trump's shoulders. And what I think is interesting about this is the fact that the Democrats and propaganda campaigns all over the country have been blamed for this by the Republicans because they would not concede to Trump's demands that caused the shutdown to begin with. That's a whole different story. Now, here's the thing. This is specifically the USDA blaming Democrats about the shutdown, saying that, well, they just give in to Trump's demands, then we'll have this SNAP benefits. But the lawsuit is saying something completely different. It says suspending SNAP benefits in these circumstances is both contrary to law and arbitrary and capricious under the Administrative Procedure Act, the state said in the complaint filed in the U.S. District Court in Massachusetts. So Representative Laura DeLauro from Connecticut is one of the main ones leading this lawsuit against the USDA, and she's making it very, very clear that this is not necessary. She said, the money is there. Let us not let them get away with saying they can't do it, DeLauro said. Their political will isn't there to feed the people who rely on the SNAP program, which is the most effective anti-hunger program in the United States of America. So you have the USDA acting in a partisan manner. And if they understood that there is going to be more white red state voters affected by SNAP, red state voters who voted for the administration, I do wonder if they'd be singing that same tune about holding this up, trying to leverage the Democrats into giving in to Trump's demands. It's like they're trying to use the shutdown to harm the Democrats. But as we know, it's going to be a whole lot more than Democrats harmed. What I think is interesting here is the culture that okays this when it comes to the political right in this country. The culture that okays this thinks that it's going to be black Democrat voters, poor folks, leeches, the welfare queens and their kids that are going to be hurt by this. That's the only thing that makes sense in the context of the reality of who actually will be hurt by this. And I think that we need to be careful about this because, listen, I said these white red state voters shot up the club when they didn't have real problems. Imagine what's going to happen when they got the real problem of not being able to feed their kids. Oh, it's so close to the holidays? Do we want that? You see, if we're not careful, these white red state poor folks, Second Amendment friendly, are going to show the country a new meaning of the word SNAP. They can't get their SNAP benefits. Welfare is partisan. because partisan politics plays into the narratives in America of who deserves what. Now, you've heard me mention this book before. You're going to hear me mention it again. The Sum of Us by Heather McGhee breaks down this abusive relationship that America has to its public assistance programs, right? Every time there is a vote on the extension of public assistance to Americans who are poor, it is always Republicans and Republican-aligned agencies that stand in the way because of the idea that it's black freeloaders and poor folks who didn't try hard enough in the American meritocracy to make something of themselves, and that if we just show them a little tough love by shutting off the faucet of public assistance, well then by golly, they'll get back into the workforce and start making money like good, hardworking American folks. But we know that this isn't true. We know for certain that when you talk about public assistance in America, it's mostly white folks who are the beneficiaries of that public assistance. And most of the time, there are poor folks living in the South. And we know that the South is poor because when it comes to federal assistance from the government, it is the South who is often the recipient of federal funds, not the red states that are paying into the pot, but the blue states paying in the pot supporting the red states when it comes to who gets what from federal dollars. So we know that these states are poorer than these liberal blue states. But why are they poor? Why is it that red states with these poor white folks are the beneficiaries mostly of public assistance? Well, as it turns out, the phenomenon of drain pool politics is at play. Drain pool politics literally dates back to the civil rights movement. And drain pool politics says that rather than play integration with black folks and swim with them in the public pool, we're just going to shut the pool down, right? That is why if you go to the South, the infrastructure is still bass-ackwards and poor comparatively to what you see up north in blue cities, blue states, because of the fact that they are divested from public wealth if it would mean sharing that wealth with black folks. What a lot of people don't understand is that other countries which have healthy, robust social safety nets don't do them the same way. There's a different way that you could design welfare. For example, we know in the black community, they designed welfare back in the day where if a man was present in the home, you couldn't get the benefits. So therefore, it incentivized women to not have a man in the home so that they could get the benefits. But if they designed it the other way, they could have had public assistance to keep families together, right? There are ways in which that we could do the minimum wage. There's ways in which we could do housing first programs for the homeless, all of which could shovel poor folks who fall on hard times back into the working class. Most conservative talking points about what to do to just pull yourself up by the bootstraps are contingent upon the idea that there will be good paying jobs waiting for you when you get into the workforce. But America has the lowest social mobility of any westernized nation. Therefore, the poverty traps are more severe because of the fact that they defunded public assistance because they thought it would hurt black folks, right? And all the while, you got these white folks who are about to find out the hard way that they were the ones who needed it the most. And that if we design public assistance, the minimum wage, housing first, all of these programs that other parts of the world have solved in a way that created wealth, that created together families, these poor white folks would benefit from it too. But they're about to find out, unfortunately, that when it comes to screwing other folks over, trying to hurt other folks is just peeing where you sleep. And I'm just sitting here wondering, when is white America going to learn that purposefully underdeveloping and defunding black communities means purposefully underdeveloping and defunding other Americans? We are Americans. When we are poor, it counts in the gross domestic product of Americans being poor, right? You cannot do this without it coming back home and these chickens coming home to roost. And that's what looks like it's about to happen. Those are just my thoughts on it, and I'm sharing them on the African Diaspora News Network, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. We bring you the very best in news when it comes to how world events are affecting the folks in the Black African diaspora. So make sure you support this news by downloading the app. Ain't number 13 cents a day. That's $9.99 a month. You can't afford not to download the app. as well as follow my channel, Theo Cyrus Rising, on YouTube. And make sure that you tune in next time where you tuned in this time. I'm Theo E.J. Wilson once again. Holla back.